Hello and welcome to Bottom Line. Well, today is the first day of Unlock 1.0. It's time to unlock the economy. It's time to reopen. It's time to normalize things. But before we go on to that discussion, the biggest news of the day is that as many as 92 COVID patients were released in Assam at one go today. This is the biggest one-time discharge of patients that has taken the number of active cases in the state down to 1,106. Yes, 92 patients discharged at one go. The Assam Health Minister has been saying that yes, the discharge rate will improve in the coming days, and not only this, the state government also plans to reduce the facility quarantine period to a mere 4 days post June 7th. So this is the big development, a positive news really amid all these growing COVID numbers every single day. As many as 92 patients discharged at one go from various COVID hospitals in Assam. Also in Arunachal Pradesh, the frontier state of Arunachal Pradesh witnessed the biggest single day spike with COVID cases reported so far. 16, as many as 16 COVID cases were reported from the state. Today, all the positive cases detected are returnees from different parts of the country. This takes the total number of cases to 20. Active cases goes up to 19 in the frontier state. Of course, we have had cases coming in, reported 7 more cases reported from Manipur. But as far as Arunachal is concerned, Arunachal has been COVID-free for a long time. Biggest single day spike witnessed in the state, 16 cases in less than 10 hours in the frontier state. But we'll come back to the Assam story again. 92 patients discharged. We are trying to connect over the phone with our editor-in-chief, Wasbir Hussain. So 92 patients discharged at one go in Assam. The total number of cases in Assam, it's nearing the 1400 mark, 1390 to be precise. But 277 people have already been discharged in the state. So far, 4 deaths reported. But the good news is 92 patients discharged at one go in Assam. We are being joined over the phone by Northeast Live editor-in-chief Wasbir Hussain. Wasbir, 92 patients released at one go. We have been reporting of cases increasing by the day, but this is really some good news coming in. The state health minister had said yes, the state expects as far as the recovery rate is concerned, the recovery rate will shoot up, and today we see close to 100 patients released at one go. So really some good news, something to cheer about. Wasbir.
Yes, absolutely. If you can, once again, let me know the question. But if I heard a little bit of your question, Nabarun.
I'm saying 92 patients discharged at one go, released at one go. This is some good news after a long time.
Absolutely, Nabarun. This is close to 100 people who have been discharged. Who are positive cases have been discharged from different hospitals in the state. This is definitely, as you rightly said, this is definitely a good news, even as number of cases are increasing every single day. And of course, as the health minister has been saying, as our channel has been saying, the good news also is that all the people who have tested positive in the state over the last couple of weeks have been people who have returned from different parts of the country and have already been in quarantine, and that is also the good news. And that is why the health authorities are repeatedly telling people to be cautious but not panic, because the preparedness which the Assam health authorities did in the last 2 months or a little more than that have come in handy now. And although, of course, they're not taking any chances, they have already come up with a state-of-the-art COVID hospital in the Guwahati Medical College premises. with about 150 to 200 beds, state of the art, absolutely, for critical COVID patients. And our sources are telling Northeast Live that the state health authorities are going to going to erect some makeshift, additional makeshift quarantine centers. It's coming up within a few days. In fact, people are already geared up to do that. That will be coming up in Guwahati and a couple of other places, because already 2.5 lakhs people in Nabarun have returned home to Assam alone from different parts of the country in the last couple of days, last couple of weeks actually. And if the initial estimate of the Assam government is to be taken into account, then there are about 10 to 12 lakh people, out of which if we assume that 2.5 lakhs have come, still about 8 lakh more will be coming. And as the health minister said, within this month that has begun today, within June, the entire, people coming home, the entire process is going to end. And therefore, this month is a critical month. And if the Assam health authorities succeed in, effectively quarantining the people for this particular month, then of course Assam will make it, because it will succeed in preventing community spread. Nabaru.
Exactly, and Vasbir, with the testing rates increasing, 10,000 testing per day, and the state government wants to achieve 2 lakh sample testing by the 15th of June. So once that happens, clearly a lot of burden would be released of the quarantine centers, and perhaps that is the mantra. Higher testing rates is the mantra. If that can be achieved, 2 lakh by June 15th. Already they have announced that post June 7th, no more than 4 days of facility quarantine. So Assam again is, we can say, in control once again. If not, it was always in control, but again in more control than ever maybe.
Well, you see, Nabarun, that is another strategy being adopted by the Assam government, particularly the health authorities are adopting this as a matter of strategy, because per day, the testing facilities have gone up to 10,000. Assam is now in a position to carry out 10,000 tests per day. What this is going to bring about is that the number of people who will be put into quarantine, within 36 hours, the test results will come. So all those who will be tested negative for COVID-19 will be sent home. And that will ease the situation for the health authorities to a great extent. The number of testing facilities going up means even if the number of people returning home increases in the days ahead, the government will be able to test 10,000 cases per day. So this is not a small amount. This is not a small number. The moment the testing facilities increase, the results they will be able to give the results within 36 hours. That means a single individual will have to be in quarantine if they do not have COVID for only maximum of 3 days. Then they will be able to go home. So this is a matter of strategy adopted by the Assam government. And of course, let me also tell you that Kerala began much ahead. They began much before Assam. But today, Assam has surpassed Kerala as far as number of tests are concerned. This is also no mean achievement because Kerala's health infrastructure has been good for several decades now, whereas Assam's health infrastructure has improved only in the last couple of years. Nabarun.
Jasbir, thank you so much for your perspective on that. So the big story today, 92 patients discharged from COVID hospitals across Assam, 92 patients discharged at one go. That again brings the total number of active cases to 1,106. Positive cases, however, are 1,390, inching towards the 1,400 mark. But yes, today's numbers as far as the discharge rate is concerned has given hopes that more people, if the discharge rate continues to be similar, there is still hope that very soon the number of active cases can once again go below the 1,000 mark. And we will also be joined by our Itanagar correspondent Indu Chukku. Of course, Arunachal today witnessed the biggest single day spike in cases 16 cases at one go. In the meantime, we'll also take a look on what is Northeast's unlock plan, unlocking the economy. All the states have unveiled the guidelines, have issued the guidelines. Assam, Meghalaya, Manipur, Arunachal Pradesh, they have issued their guidelines, while some states have taken more relaxation measures. Some states have decided that interstate movement will not be allowed till for some more time. Indu Chukku is joining us from Itanagar. Indu, 16 cases in a day. How are the authorities reacting? How are the people reacting, Indu?
Yes, Nabarun, it was already expected because like some week ago, the Chief Minister Pema Khandu has already in a press statement has said that we are expecting more cases because, you know, like as of the update on till date, about like 8,000 plus students and the stranded people from across the country has reached the state. So 8,000 people. So like as expected by the authorities, many cases are coming in. And on this also 16 new cases. Yes, 16 new cases has come. This is the highest record that the state has recorded because earlier 3 cases and even the one which has already been cured, the first case. So like it was only in a day, only one case used to be detected. So in just a span of one day, 16 new cases has found. So it is indeed, we won't say it is shocking because we were all prepared and it was expected. So on this, as we have already, even earlier we have reported that, you know, like the government is full prepared, as this is the stand by the government because like mandatory quarantine facility.
And where have they been admitted, Indu? Where have, which hospital?
Yeah.
Which hospital have they been admitted to? Is it in TRIMS, all of them, or is it different hospitals?
Nabarun, currently they are under the COVID care center. So as per the medical department, COVID care center is not a hospital per se, but it is a kind of, you know, like another, it is not under any hospital, but they are currently in a COVID care center because, you know, like all of these 19 people, total 19 cases, that active cases that has been reported are all asymptomatic and are out of danger. So they are in their own respective districts. And from these 16, you know, like 14 people are from the same district, that is Changlang. And they have all the 14 people from Changlang, they have returned in the same train from particularly from Gurugram area in Haryana, and another one, the lone from Tawang district, and one is from the Namsai district, who was a Chennai returnee.
All right, Indu, thank you so much for all those updates. That was Indu Chukku, our Itanagar correspondent, giving us all the updates from the state. 16 cases reported in a day from Arunachal Pradesh. Coming back to the bigger story of the day, today was the first day of what everybody is calling Unlock 1.0. All the states have released their measures, guidelines to yet again revive the economy, get back to the normal. I am being joined now from Guwahati by Dr. Sriparna Barua. Sriparna Barua, of course, is the head for Center for Industrial Extension, IIE Guwahati. Welcome, ma'am, to Bottom Line. Unlock 1.0, it is being called for the first time. The good thing is that we are not using the term lockdown anymore. So a welcome transition, maybe.
Right. It's a very welcome transition, indeed a welcome transition, because this was a much needed thing, which was, you know, we were all looking forward, because while we are talking about lockdown, it is looking at the health aspect of it, the physical health part of it. What about the mental health, which is very, very important, because people are literally they have no clue as to what they have to do, what they want to do. Businesses are just suffering like anything. Look at any sector that you have from Northeast. In the major sectors that you have, all sectors are absolutely clueless. There's a pile of inventory. So, you know, everyone is really looking forward for this, you know, the lockdown to close, and we have to we have to open up now. That's that is definitely has to be there now.
Okay, we'll just we just have a breaking news coming in from Meghalaya. One more person has tested positive for COVID-19 in the state. The fresh case has been reported from southwest Garo Hills district of the state. The patient had returned from Uttarakhand. With this, the total positive cases in Meghalaya has risen to 28, while there are 15 active cases. So one more COVID-19 case has been detected in Meghalaya. That takes the number of active cases in the state to 15. Total is 28. COVID numbers keep on rising across the region. 15 now the active case in Meghalaya, and 28 is the total number. If I can go back to Dr. Sriprana Barua. Dr. Barua, yes, it is one thing to say, to try and get back to normal, but practically there is a lot to it. Practically, just opening of shops may not be normalization in the real terms. There are a lot of factors, from the supply chain to interstate movement. What we have seen among the guidelines released, the Unlock 1.0 guidelines released by some of the Northeast states, interstate movement is still not permitted to several states, be it Meghalaya, Mizoram, other states. They are not allowing interstate movements till now, apart from movement of essential goods and services. So clearly, normal is still far away.
Yeah, normal is still far away, I agree. And then, there are a lot of other issues which will come in. But what is required, whatever little opening has happened, but even there is no clarity as to how things are going to move. What is more important than even, you will keep on opening, but whatever little opening has happened, what are the sort of, where is the vision as to what is going to happen to these sectors? Look at already we have about 22-25 lakhs of unemployed youth, and look at the migrants which are coming back. So every sector, we need to also have a roadmap as to how we are going ahead. Suppose we are not opening up the interstate, but even within the state, what can happen? Everyone is saying that agri is a sector which we are going to go into, but in agri, what are we going to do? Where is the vision? Are we looking at Assam as a state and looking at districts where what can grow in which district? I mean, there has to be a roadmap, there has to be a plan. Only then people can start working even within the time limit that is available right now. So, sector-wise, there is a need for a vision. For example, when we are talking about health, okay, health, we know that this is going to happen, 14 days quarantine, and we have a way in which we look at health now. But what about the other sectors? Opening or closing really doesn't make a difference, but what is required at the moment is a clear focus as to what are the other ministers talking about, are the leaders talking about how we are looking at agriculture. Just mentioning that agriculture
do you feel there is still a lack of clarity on the way forward? Yes, we have given a go-ahead to movement.
Absolutely, there is an absolute lack of clarity. If you look at the sectors which are there, which have the maximum potential, or which are the sectors from Northeast, we have tourism, we have agri and horticulture, we have poultry, we have handloom, handicraft. But what is going? Because today itself, I got 2-3 calls from people in the handloom and handicraft sector. They're saying, what do we do with the pile up of inventory? Even if you open up a shop, are people going to buy? People are not coming in. So what do we do? So is there a way ahead as to how we handle different sectors? Look at handloom sector, for example. Do we have a roadmap as to what we are going to do? Can we think about how we can converge about the availability of raw material in terms of what government can take in? We have the corporations, Northeast Handloom Handicraft Corporation. Are they going to give any sort of guideline as to what can be bought, what cannot be bought? Most of these people were selling in exhibitions, so now the exhibitions are not there. So what is going to happen? Can we think a little out of box in terms of, for example, we have, hospital, we have quarantine centers, we have so many bed sheets, bed covers, whatever is required. Can we look at some of the weavers weaving and giving it? So we have to look at the entire supply chain. We talk about supply chain, but what about quarantine? What is the food which is there in the quarantine center? Can we look at restaurateurs supplying some of this food to the, these quarantine centers? Can we look at supply chain from the district in terms of self-help groups coming and supplying whatever vegetables, etc. that we have? So we have to look at ways and means of looking at the existing entrepreneurs, existing self-help groups, existing self-employed people. How do we sort of, in the worst situation, how do we use them?
Also at the same time, tourism, that is considered one of the mainstays of the region. Is there any hope for the industry in the short run? at least
No,
say
I don't
this year?
think there is a hope. I don't think immediately, but then we are talking about maybe
Tourism
Northeast.
coupled
A
with
lot of
hospitality,
yeah,
the
people are going to
hotel,
come. So we
hospitality
are looking.
services,
Yeah,
of
we can
course.
look at community tourism, for example. But here again, some guidelines are. I mean, some sort of a some stakeholders have to come forward and say that this is what we can do. Can we look at? Everyone is now talking about community tourism. So even if we look at the community tourism, we look at sericulture as promoting sericulture as a tourism destination. But these are just talks. But people are basically people from the industry are basically looking at the government, and everyone is clueless at the moment. So roadmap is required for every sector.
Absolutely. Roadmap is the key. We are also being joined from Shillong by Dr. Prasanjit Biswas, Professor Nehu. Dr. Biswas, well, we are we are still trying to connect. Yes, can you hear me, Dr. Biswas? Okay, so basically a lack of roadmap is something that Dr. Sriparna Barua here has pointed out. Yes, it is Unlock 1.0. Yes, the shops have opened. Yes, there is inter-district movement, but a lot needs to be done. Probably all the ministries within a government, all the ministries have to pitch in. And apart from the guidelines issued, there is also, it's especially the tourism, agri. Would you agree, Sriparna Barua, the Departments of Tourism, Agriculture, Animal Husbandry, probably some of these departments also have to come up with some clear-cut guidelines so as to reassure those who are involved in such kind of businesses?
Yes, of course. Are you asking me?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So along with, yes, definitely there's a need for guidelines on this, and then even if you look at if you look at the financial package which has come in, there are certain sectors like herbal and medicinal plants. The Northeast is supposed to be the hotspot for herbal and medicinal plants. Here again, we always keep on talking as Northeast as a land of opportunities, a lot of flora, fauna here. So can we think that, okay, this village, today I was talking to an entrepreneur who says that there can be we can identify districts in which certain types of herbs can grow. Here again, I'm again repeating the word roadmap. So which are the villages now? Can we think about them as becoming hotspots for growing herbal and medicinal plants? Can we look at preventive medicine again here? So all the migrants who are coming back, everyone jumping into agriculture is okay, but agriculture again, or can be again divided. Maybe floriculture could be there, horticulture could be there, aromatic plants and medicinal and aromatic plants could be there. We can think about processing.
All right.
So,
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
we have Dr. Prasanjit Biswas connected. Dr. Biswas, Dr. Sriparna Barua of IIT Guwahati pointed out that yes, it is Unlock 1.0, but there is no clear roadmap for specific sectors, and that is the problem. There has to be a clear roadmap. Each department has to come up with a roadmap so that the economy can revive faster than it would normally take under such circumstances. What is your viewpoint?
To revive the economy, one has to really start production and sale. These are the two important aspects of economy. So production in agriculture, production at the MSME sector, and then supplying the produced goods and services in the market. So this entire chain needs to be reconstructed, which will require an initiative to run transport vehicles and also facilitate the movement of people and movement of certain other factors of production. It also requires opening of the financial institutions. Now, all these have to happen as a kind of a combined matrix. How that matrix will be organized and how private players, public initiatives, government initiatives can come together is the real challenge. In order to do that planning, one may start in a modest way by opening shops in the market. One can also facilitate bringing of goods from the wholesalers. The wholesalers can be facilitated to develop a supply line at the back with the production factories. Therefore, the whole thing needs to be organized and planned as if one is restarting the economy fresh. Now, for all these in the context of northeastern part of India, one has to ensure transport and one has to ensure railway racks carrying essential items and goods and services from Delhi, Mumbai, and certain other industrial centers. Now, in order to ensure that, one has to also factor in the health precautions so that the health norms are also maintained when one is trying to open up the economy by mobilizing transport and other factors of production. In the context of Northeast, interstate transport is absolutely essential. To what extent interstate transport will run through the borders of each of the states, that needs to be regulated, and at the same time, certain amount of freedom needs to be given to the entrepreneur and the business. Unless we combine all these in our current formulations and prescriptions about how economy is opened up, we won't be succeeding in opening up very much. It will be just unlocking, but certainly not opening up. So one needs to open up, and one needs to move from unlocking to opening up of the economy in the context of Northeast India by maintaining health norms and health standards. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. We are also we will also be joined shortly by Mr. Larsing Ming Sawian from Shillong. Larsing Ming Sawian, of course, a leading entrepreneur in the state. But Dr. Biswas, again, we had been talking about the tourism sector with Dr. Sriprana Barua. Do you think there's any hope for this sector in the near future, given the nature of the crisis right now? Very quickly.
Yeah, there's a lot of possibility in that sector, because I believe that it's part of the service sector, and any tertiary sector of the economy has a lot of possibility, because when after a closure these sectors will be opened up, there will be a higher amount of demand. Only thing, people have to have purchasing power. The companies, the middlemen, the small entrepreneurs, all of them have to be augmented with a certain amount of cash and credit. Now, financial institutions have to come there, and wherever there is a certain kind of a gap and lacuna, that has to be filled up by financial institutions. If financial institutions can act in a coordinated fashion, it will be possible to really regenerate these small sectors, absolutely, in the good of the ordinary people. And as much as it spread will be among the ordinary people, that much will be the revival of the economy.
Thank you so much, Dr. Biswas. We'll have to take a very short break here. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Bottom Line. We're discussing Unlock 1.0, what it means to the economy. Can we see things get back to normal in near future? I'm being joined from Shillong now by Mr. Larsing Ming Sawian, of course, a leading entrepreneur and hotelier. Welcome, sir, to Bottom Line. From lockdown 5.0, now we have moved to Unlock 1.0. Does that give you hope? As somebody who is a leading entrepreneur, hotelier, does that give you hope?
Well, at least that's a positive sign that things are slowly, hopefully, going to come back to some semblance of normalcy. We've seen that many countries in Europe, such as Italy, Germany, England, and even Spain, have also started opening up. So we are in the middle of the summer. And so I hope that, we're hoping, this gives us some hope that maybe, hopefully, things will slowly return back to normal. But I think one thing very important is that, as everyone has already understood, perhaps this is something that is going to be around for a while. So we've got to learn to be a little careful. And I'm sure as long as we maintain our protocols in terms of health and hygiene, we will be able to, somehow manage to get over the curve.
Absolutely. It's good that you're optimistic. But again, tourism is perhaps the mainstay, one of the mainstays in Meghalaya. Do you see any hope for this sector this year with the way things are? Also, that includes the hospitality services. And, we are not expecting, at least right now, there is no interstate movement for one. So everything, even if hotels, restaurants opening, they have to cater to the domestic crowd. But apart from that, probably in the next few months also, we are not expecting much of a footfall as far as tourists are concerned. So does that concern you as somebody who is in the industry?
Oh, yes, it does concern us tremendously. I think, unfortunately, one of the biggest sectors to suffer a setback from this entire COVID pandemic is the tourism sector worldwide. However, having said that, we have to all get over this entire calamity epidemic that has happened. And yes, I think in the short run, hopefully, if things start improving and the borders start opening from a tourism perspective, I think Meghalaya can look at, basically a lot of the, basically our neighboring states. And in that sense, primarily Assam and Guwahati as the as the main area from where we can expect our first batch of tourists. So with the summer heat and everything, I'm sure at some stage everyone would need a little break. And I think for the immediate future, for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months, I don't see much tourism coming in from any other part of the country. We will perhaps have to look at entertaining and hoping that people from neighboring states, especially what they call drive-in tourism, which is picking up fast now as the alternative. So people are looking for destinations where they can drive themselves rather than catching of flights and traveling long distances. So when we look at drive-in tourism, then obviously states like Assam would be where we can expect our first batch of tourists once things return to a semblance of normalcy.
And till the time the going is tough. What is your mantra to fellow businessmen, fellow hoteliers? What would you suggest? Because it's not easy to maintain the staff, the employees, and also get the show going. What would you suggest?
No, so I think it's an extremely tough time, especially for the hospitality industry, because we do have huge overheads as far as staff are concerned. It's going to be tough to somehow the other manage and sustain. But I think my message would be that we just need to hang on there. I mean, calamities of this nature have happened in the distant past, not in the immediate past. But I think situations like this can be comparable to the long, protracted wars that have broken out during World War I and World War II. I mean, fortunately, that was more than almost a century back.
Yes.
So, but the good side is that should things return back to normal, and when they do, I think Northeast can be looked at as a preferred destination by at least anyone who's traveling within the country. I think we have approximately 22 million outbound tourists. I mean, outbound passengers from India traveling to all different parts of the world annually.
Yes.
And I believe that in the first 2 years post this COVID, most people would prefer to travel within the boundaries of our own country. And in that regard, I feel that Northeast would be a destination that is going to be explored by people once we get over this pandemic.
And my last question to you, anything that you would want to say to the government, this is not for you personally, for all the entrepreneurs, startups, they need some help probably at this moment, or guidance or a roadmap, anything that you want to appeal to the government of the day?
Well, yes, I'm sure the government has so much at its hands already, and it's not an easy time even for the government, because no one knows how long this whole episode is going to play on for. But definitely on behalf of the tourism sector in the Northeast, I'd like to appeal that a special focus be given to the fact that tourism and hospitality is at its infancy in this region. It is a sector that is the future as far as the region is concerned. I think the Northeast will grow in terms of tourism, agriculture, and largely in these two sectors. And we have so many young units that have come up in the last couple of years, 5 years in the Northeast. And all new units, will go through their little stresses and strains, especially with this sort of a pandemic. So, in the interest of the industry, it would be important that government looks at providing some incentives, some sort of bailouts to the tourism industry in the region. We've got to look at Northeast as a specific focus area as far as tourism is concerned, and help the existing hospitality sector here, because by helping the sector here, it's promoting the future. We need to preserve the existing infrastructure, the existing units, the different small enterprises that have come up in order to continue to sustain our development in this field.
And also, since I have you on the show, what about sports during the time of the pandemic? Of course, we all know Shillong Lajong FC and the one of the biggest clubs in the region. How difficult has been the going, and how have you been able to maintain the staff and also motivate the youngsters, motivate the players? Shillong Lajong, of course, has always believed in youth development. How difficult has this phase been, and how have you been coping up?
Yes, it's equally tough as far as the club is concerned. As of now, everything is in a standstill. In fact, I just had a conversation with our Spanish coach, Jose, the other day, who, was from Spain, and he was also contemplating on taking the first flight out. But now that seeing that things may be returning to normal, he has also decided to stay back and wait a while and hopefully see things turn a positive tide. So we are hoping that if the next 2 to 3 weeks pan out positively, then perhaps some amount of activities will be allowed over time, and we look forward to that moment. But I think what is very important is that at this point of time, even if things start opening up, everyone's got to take the little extra element of precaution, because at the end of the day, if we are sensitive to the way we maintain our hygienes, wash our hands, or put on our mask, I think we can curtail the spread of this virus. Absolutely. Even if we travel and move around a bit.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Lar Singh Ming Saiwan, for your time. That was Lar Singh Ming Saiwan, owner of Shillong Lajong FC, and of course one of the leading entrepreneurs from the Northeast and Meghalaya. Well, apart from the economy, of course, schooling, educational institutes have been closed for weeks now, for over 2 months, for close to 3 months, or even more in some states. And students, of course, are at the receiving end. So what is the plan forward? Of course, we don't see schools opening in June, probably not before the first week of July. But what about the students? Will they be able to cope up? Yes, a lot has been said about online learning, digital learning, but can it reach the majority? That is the big question. I'm being joined over the phone by Mr. Miguel Dascuya, child rights activist, founder UTSA. Miguel, again, the concern is schools do not seem to reopen before the month of July. Students at the receiving end, what could be the way forward, Miguel?
Hi, Nabarun. Well, I have been faced with this question a lot of times. But, like I said before, that this is a very unprecedented situation. And I think everyone is doing to kind of figure out that, to come up with an alternate arrangement. But like I have seen around, that a lot of private schools have actually organized online classes. Some of them are running amazingly, apart from few incidents where, classes are being held from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Some schools are having little weird timings. Apart from that, I think the private arrangement has organized online classes for children. The problem, the concern is with children going into the public arrangement, because not all children have smartphones. Well, I have been informed that, some children, there are some teachers or the education department are taking measures to provide resource materials to forums like WhatsApp. Some have these online classes going on. But the thing is that not every child, especially look at children from the slum areas, children from the char areas, the hill areas, So the children here, tea garden areas, for example, they are very poor people. So a large chunk of children are being left out. So I'm not blaming anyone right now, like I said before, but it is a time for the state to reflect upon this. Maybe consult with experts, consult with entrepreneurs, consult with social workers, activists like us, to find out that what can be the way forward, what is the solution that can make education accessible to all. In a way, if you see, every child has a right to education. And I think at this situation, their right has been curbed due to their maybe economic condition, their social condition. But I think it's high time that the state gets into a consultative mode and get expert advice into the system to ensure that each and every child in the state has access to high quality education, even during this moment of crisis.
Absolutely, but how much of it is practically possible, Miguel? I mean, let's be practical. We can all say that this should be done or that should be done. I mean, if you were to suggest something, if you were to suggest something to the government, okay, let's take it forward this way. Probably this is practical. What would you say? Can you sum it up?
See, like I said, Nabarun, there is no linear solution. No one-sided solution to this issue. It has to only be solved through consultation. For example, now I have heard, I mean, things are going forward. Now, principals and teachers now have to reach out to communities physically. But however, keeping in mind that the protection of children, the health of children is also an important concern here. So principals, Shiksha Karmis, Anganwadi workers, now this time need to reach out to from house to house in communities to make sure that they have at least access to study material, one, and then there has to be regular follow-up so that they are prepared. They are not missing out on education. Like I said, this is just one thing, Nabarun. There can be so many things. The other is the fight for internet. A lot of children have smartphones, but they don't have internet access. So we have to also work towards this right of children to internet access so that they have adequate internet so that they can access education materials online, at least the ones who are logged onto a smartphone. So these are two things that I would like to say. One, yes, principals, not only school teachers and principals, Anganwadi workers, then Shiksha Karmis, should all have to reach out house to house to see what are the gaps, and accordingly they can provide those study materials to those families and those children. Like I said, we need not rush it up.
All right.
We need not rush up
All
things.
right.
We need to take it slow. Because at this time, children can also work into other things. The mind enrichment happens not only through education, but through other activities like gardening, storytelling, so many things, which children have missed out all these while. The only thing is that
again, again, all those activities are for selective children. We must confess. Anyway, thank you so much, Miguel Daskuya, for your perspective on this. We are being joined now live from Guwahati by Dinesh Lahoti. Dinesh Lahoti is the founder of EduGenie, a unique education concept. But before you go to that, breaking news, another 5 persons have tested positive for COVID-19 in Manipur. With this, the numbers have gone up to 83 in the state, 72 active cases. That is the breaking news from Manipur. 5 more people have tested positive. Earlier in the day, 7 had tested positive, so 12 in total now. Dinesh, if we are connected with Dinesh Lahoti, Dinesh, we were discussing about what could be the way forward at a time when we don't see schools reopening, say, till July end or August, and the students are the receiving end. What could be the way forward? How do we make up for this lost time and precious school days left? Of course, security is more important. Safety of children is of prime importance. We are talking about an alternative. Not that we are trying to force children to go to school at a time when it is not safe, but what could be the alternative? Is an alternative even there?
Hi, Nabaran. I feel that there is a lot of things that can be done in this time, and I think we should really be very much thankful to the teachers community. I think they have been the silent warrior all throughout. I mean, the way they have upskilled themselves in this such a less time, may it be government schools or may it be private schools, the way the way they have taken the whole thing online in whatever way possible, it's really amazing and really worth celebrating. Also, I feel. However, I really feel that we all talk about making our country Atmanirbhar, but how can we make a country Atmanirbhar without its student being Atmanirbhar, right? So what I mean by this is it's a high time where we start focusing on making students independent learner. There have been a lot of educators who always keep on saying about the 21st century dynamics. I think this is a dynamic, a real dynamic, which is pretty much visible right now. I really feel it's a high time we develop them to be an independent learner, and we develop them with the skills of how they can be an independent learner sitting at home, and how can we them empower them with that. So I really feel making them Atmanirbhar student is the most important thing that can be done. And with a very structured program in terms of mentoring, an adult can actually help young students to understand and how to learn effectively. I think that is very, very
But
important.
again,
Our students know. Yeah.
again, Dinesh, in a country like India, what we're talking about, the main problem is reaching out to a majority of our students. We cannot talk of selectively of a few private, high-end private schools. We're talking about each and every school at the district, village, block level, reaching out to them. They are the ones also losing out. How to go about that? Do we have a plan in place? Maybe not immediately, but can we start? Can we start doing something? Can we start planning for the future at least now?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's amazing time to actually basically come with a very fundamental question, of redesigning the way we education is being perceived right now. We all are talking about covering the curriculum, covering the syllabus, but is it really the syllabus that is really the thing of worry, except students who are appearing for the board exams? I really feel like it's a high time where we rethink about how can we actually empower the different aspects of learning that is important for our communities. And I really feel that a lot of things can be done where every person now have to take a role of being a mentor to a child. They can help them with a very basic fundamental skills of maybe reading, writing, and maybe basic arithmetic and numeracy. We are lacking far behind in this compared to what should be the average. You might be aware that Assam has the highest number of school dropouts after class 10 in the recent survey that we got. The dropout number is pretty high. I really feel that a lot of initiatives can be done where we empower community member, like we empower parents, not only the teachers. And this can be done in a series of programs via which you train parents online how can they help the students learn, and it should be in as many languages as possible. It should not be the only pure responsibility of teachers at this stage. I think a lot of things can be done if we use the platform like news channels and other platform which can be actually helpful to reach students, right? We may not have an internet, but we do have a TV everywhere. But again, talking of only curriculum, I think will not help. Apart from curriculum, we are all talking about what to learn, the syllabus, right? I think it's a high time we teach them how to learn. And if we can do that, I'm sure like parents and as well as the students, they themselves can be more of independent learner, and that way it can empower it, and we can reach to as local level as possible, as maybe at the village or maybe at the block or maybe at a remote to remote areas where there is no access. If we can have a program which empowers them how to learn.
And how much of a role do you think schools can play here, even though classes are not going on? How much of a big role do you think schools can play here in mobilizing not only the teachers and the staff, but maybe also the senior students, probably getting coming up with some innovative idea or the other to ensure that maximum students benefits in some way or the other? Can something be done? If, of course, say in a...
Yes, now.
Yeah.
Yes, Nabur, and I really agree with your point when you say that can school do something in terms of reaching out to not only parents and but also to their alumni? And I think it's a very high time we all take a role and responsibility in terms of educating anyone living around us, right? So it may be like I am living in a in a village, in a town. I might have some skills or some knowledge which I really can transfer to my student. I think the major important part here is that students shouldn't stop learning, right? And they should not stop like the whole idea of interacting with the people. I think that's really important for their mental well-being also. And if how somehow we can create a movement where we take a kind of a mantra where each one teach at least one, or each one mentor at least one, right? It can be via phone call, or it can be via if you are around a place, you can go there, arrange a couple of students and start teaching them with a very basic things. I really feel I went in my work in education, what I've really realized, the basic skills of reading and comprehending a text is something which is very, very rare even in the top private schools in the country right now, right? So I think we really, really need to focus in terms of developing the skills which will actually empower them, and this can be done with the help
Absolutely.
of community, right? So
Absolutely.
community participation is the key here, and I think
Community
schools also have
participation
to.
is the key. Well, I'm being joined over the phone from Shillong by Brother Solomon Morris. Solomon Morris, the principal of St. Edmund's School, Shillong. Welcome, Brother Morris, to Bottom Line. Well, these are testing times, Brother Morris, for everybody, be it the schools, teachers, students. What is the way forward according to you, Brother Morris?
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to clarify the difference between online learning. I mean, people say it's online learning, but actually it's basically remote teaching. Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear
it's
you. Go
remote.
ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically it's an emergency situation. So it's an emergency remote teaching. So I'm not very optimistic about this. It's like some of the kids fall by the wayside. And then the major question we need to ask is, how do we assess these children, whether the learning outcomes have been realized? No? Teachers are sending materials there, but there is no quality assessment. No?
Absolutely.
We don't know. We don't know what they're learning. Are they really grasping the concepts? So it requires basically on the part of the teacher, you have to completely change your whole style of questioning. The questioning has to be totally concept-based question, application-based question. And the children also have to be given the content in such a way that they can understand the concepts. My biggest problem is, how do you know the children have understood the concepts? Because if they're going to continue like this and we promote them to the next class, they are going to have serious learning gaps. Serious. You might get only about 5 or 6 fellows in the class who will really understand what's happening. The rest of the kids are going to struggle, So I can't see. I can't see the way forward. In a sense, like we need to really test the quality of teaching and to see whether the children have really understood the concepts.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. We will require another discussion on this, Brother Solomon Morris. We have completely run out of time today. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much, Dinesh Lahoti, for your perspective on the issue. I'm sure this will need another discussion, but this is a wrap of today's Bottom Line.